We are in Shmuel Aleph, we're in chapter 14, verse 11. So it says, V'yigalu Shneihem, so both of them revealed themselves. El Matzav Pelishtim, we're talking about Yonatan and his arms bearer. El Matzav Pelishtim, to the garrison of Pelishtim. V'yomru Pelishtim, and the Pelishtim said, Hinei Ivrim Yotzim, behold, the Ivrim are coming out, min achorim, from the holes, ashit hitchavu sham, that they have hidden themselves there.
Rabbi, why is it Ivrim? Why would we be known as Yehudim or like Jews?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We would not be known as Yehudim for probably a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
We're only called Yehudim because
Yehuda.
of Yehuda, right? So that's when Yehuda will be there. So right now it's just Ivrim. There are people who cross the river, or whatever the case is going to be, or Hebrews. So why we call it Ivrim? If you have to go back to the beginning of Egypt, even when Mitzrayim, when they called them Ivrim. Why? Because we came from Eva HaYarden, not Eva Yarden. We came from we passed over the river. Naharayim. That's because Yaakov, all based upon Avraham, where he was coming from. So they said he crossed over the rivers. So that's why they call him Ivri. So it all goes back to that. And so we'll call it Ivrim for a long time. And it was, by the way they say it, of course, they said they crawled out of their holes. Yeah. You can tell this is not a very... see, here, Baruch Hashem, in the English, they say emerged, but really it's coming out from the holes. It's still not a very nice way to say it, regardless of how they're coming up to do that. Okay.
They're crawling out of their hidey holes.
Say again?
They're crawling out of the cowards are crawling out.
Right, they call it, right, they're coming out of the holes. They're crawling, however you want to put it. Again, it wasn't a nice way to say it, but nonetheless, it gets the point across. So, the Malbim says, so the Pelishtim said.
Wait, what would be a nice way to say that? Because it said that the Jews
the Jews are here.
Oh, okay. Because it said the Jews were hiding in holes and stuff, so...
No, they weren't.
They were hiding at this... They were stationed in the city.
The camp of the Jews was in one area. Right. The garrison of the Pelishtim was somewhere else. Right, like now they're saying they're coming out of their holes, which means they're like little vermin who are coming out of the holes. That's what they're trying to say. But they didn't know they were hiding in the camps, and they didn't know the Jews weren't hiding for the most part. They were just out there.
The people who left Shaul, they just went back to their homes.
Right.
Okay. How about people?
Sorry?
How many members there was a thing like they ran and hid or something like that because the war was coming.
They ran in the caves?
Not ran in the caves, just ran and hid because the war was coming.
It says...
Something like that.
No, it's describing where they were holding, but it doesn't. I don't see where it says it. Not in this chapter anyway. So yeah, you'd have to find it.
It's probably for something else.
I'm not sure.
Chapter 13, verse 6, I think. The men of Israel
6?
The men of Israel saw they were in trouble, so the people were hard pressed, and the people hid in caves and the fortresses, and in rocks, and in towers, and in pits.
Okay, so it could be they're referring back to that. Still, it's a derogatory term. The point is, it's a derogatory term that they're coming out from the caves. And no matter how you look at it, even if they were there, but the people wouldn't have known. I mean, they're telling us. The Tanakh is telling us what happened. Right. That they saw that there was no hope, so they pushed themselves and they hid themselves in these places. But
the Christian wouldn't know that because they're hidden.
Right.
Okay.
Right. They wouldn't necessarily know that. And then the other ones crossed the Jordan to go to God and Gilad,
right. And
Shaul was still there. Fine. So, yeah, they're not going to know that, but they're going to use that as a derogatory statement. Oh, look at that! They're coming out of their holes. Right. You know. So he says, so Oh, this is wise. We have to hear this. It's telling us the greatness of the sign. Ki heim lo ta'u shehem anshe chayil. They did not mistake them for valiant men. Ad shijaru milardof achareim, until they saw that they were not afraid from chasing after them. Ki amru, because they said shehem Yehudim rechet levav, that the Jews were soft-hearted. Asher b'chorim hitchavu, that they're hiding in their they're weak-hearted, and they're hiding in caves. Kol zeh lo ya'arav libam l'redov achareim rak. And with all this, they didn't go into their hearts to pursue after them only. And now we have the next pasuk. Okay, so we're seeing a bit of miracle here. So vayanu anshe hamatzava et Yehonatan. So the men of the garrison, they called out to Jonas. They answered, literally they answered Yonatan. What the question is, so if to say Yanu, that has me that they asked something, right? That would be a normal thing, and yet they're saying they answered, and which Rashi says lashon hara makol. They raised their voice, or they yelled out.
Wait, so who called the men of the who's
the men of the garrison? The Jews, the Philistines. The Philistines are calling to Yonatan and his weapons bearer. So called to, right? So that's why they're saying called to, because there was no question
when
asked.
they saw them emerging.
Right, but the question is why vaya'anu? Why? And they answered. There's no question. So Rashi says doesn't mean there was a question. It means they raised their voice. Yeah.
Whenever I read that, or I remember reading this a long time ago, or learning about it, I can't remember exactly where, but it was answered when Yonatan said, if they say this, then that. It's not they're not answering him asking a question. They're answering his question to God, or his plea to God, or something like that. Because he asked God, if they say this, then that means that we fight. If they say that means we go. And so they answered by saying, "Come down to us." They answered his question to God. They didn't answer him because he didn't.
Okay, I'm not okay. Okay. I was curious to say. Be curious to see who says that. So, but it's because, like I said, it's a hard thing to say that they're answering God or they're answering their.
Right. They saw the Ivrim emerging, and it says Philistine answered them.
Mm-hmm.
So without the question being, without anything else being spoken to them, I guess they saw that as as an assault. So they answered that assault, that non-verbal assault. They answered them. That's what I would say. Yeah.
Okay. Again, the question that Rashi's having is, and that's why he says called out, and that's why the translate is called to, is because it doesn't make sense in the text to say vaya'anu, that they answered. That's all I'm saying. You want to answer why the Hebrew says vaya'anu. I hear everybody's answer, but you have to ask this. You're begging the question.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In other words, you wouldn't normally say that they answered.
Not
You would
normally.
normally say they called
They
out,
were called,
or they said to.
Because nothing was verbally
Right.
asked
So you're
of
not
them.
right. Just now to say they answered the oncoming assault.
So what did Rashi say they're doing?
He says they raised their voice.
Oh, so he's saying we should
called
understand it
out.
as saying that.
They called out.
Either way, yeah, sure.
Right.
I mean,
But you shouldn't answer. You shouldn't understand it literally as they answered, because there was no question.
yeah. Well, I would say the same thing then, because again,
Right.
they are again in a manner of speaking, they are answering a nonverbal assault. So therefore, they called out.
Right.
Sure.
So then what happens? Vayomru, continue on. Vayomru, and they said, "Alu eleinu, come up to us." V'nodia etchem davar, and we will inform you a thing. We're going to show you something. We're going to tell you something. Okay. Vayomer Yonatan el nose kelav alei acharai. So Yonatan, that was the signal he was waiting for. So Yonatan said to his weapons bearer, "Come up after me, kinatanam Hashem biyad Yisrael, because Hashem has given them into the hands of Israel." So now we know that they said what they said, and so the Malbim says V'yomru, and they said, "Come up after us." This is that Och kinishte giburatam Lifnei Yonatan v'suma b'fihem. This is a sign that that their strength was placed before Yehonatan, and that was it was put into their mouth. V'nodia etchem devar, and we will inform you, or we'll let you know something. Kizeh atzmohu hoda elokit, that this itself was the informing of God. Kinetanam Hashem b'yad Yisrael, that Hashem gave them the Pelishtim into the hands of Israel. And therefore he said, Amar alei acharai. He says, come after me. And I was, okay, we're gonna beat them. So they said what I wanted them to say. Remember, they could have said anything. Remember that. They could have said anything.
Yeah.
They didn't have to say, they didn't have to say anything. Okay, and yet they responded with the exact words that Yehonatan asked Hashem to put in their mouth, and they did. So he says, okay, we won. So now Yehonatan went up, he climbed up on his hands and his feet, and his weapon bear after him, Yonatan. They fell before Yonatan, Kelev, and his weapon bearer from killing was slaying after him. So here, two guys are taking on the entire garrison. This is now people have. You guys are too young. Do you know who Rambo is?
Yes.
Okay, good. So Rambo, I remember Rambo. It must have been in about the '80s when the guy came out. Rambo.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Rambo's. What?
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone. So when you see Rambo going out, he's taking on the entire blank army. I think it was the North Korean. I don't know. It's
North Vietnamese.
North Vietnamese. There you go.
Yeah.
Take it on and I remember my father told me you have to go to the movie. I remember this. He told me you have to go to the movie. You know, he even gave me the money to go to the movie. And so he said, you'll love the movie. And I went in, and here you have Sylvester. He's literally standing up, shooting the whole entire army and never being shot back. And I was laughing and laughing. I was thinking, what kind of stupidity is this? Now, I want you to take that scene and take two guys against the entire garrison. That's what's going on. Rambo, by the way, I always said to my kids that every single story that we see is always from the Torah. This scene from Rambo is right from here. Two guys take on an entire garrison and don't get killed.
Or Shimshon with the...
Shimshon was, right. But here is even worse because you have an entire army. As far as your eye could see. And two guys are killing them, and they're just going through, and you can't stop them. That is Rambo on steroids.
Never run out of bullets.
That's right. That's also true. I still laugh when I think of the scene because it was so ridiculous. But nonetheless, that's where they're coming from. Okay, so whoever thinks that Hollywood writers don't know the Torah, even if they don't know the Torah, they know the stories because everything comes from us. I sound like your Fat Greek wedding, right? Everything comes from us.
Yeah, the father.
Right, but okay. So that's what happened. So they just defeated everybody. Good. So it says Malbim says V'yal Yonatan Zeh Me'ezer Hashgacha Shalasiv Evetshin Tzal Lechet Al Derech. Okay, this is also Hashem's guidance, divine guidance, that they didn't go around the rock to go to the way. Kisham Amdu Anshe Hamatzeva Nechonim, because the people of the garrison stood there opposite them, Sfufim El Pnei Derech, and they were coming to them on their way. And the fear and the trembling didn't take over. Aval Yonatan Allah Al Shein Salvad. Yonatan did go up on this cliff. V'yigia be'emsa ben anshe matzav ben hamachanen. So that he was in the middle of the garrison and between the camp. V'sham itchil lakot, and that's where he started to kill them. Al makom shaya matzav nechom b'tzad derech, to the place that was opposite the garrison on the side of the way. Lo ra'ut sara of oyev, so they didn't see an enemy or of makom sha'ala in the place he went up. At the place that the police went up, Hema Nemogim, they melted the whole Mokim, the whole Pa'am. Oh, sorry. I knew something was wrong with that. So, Makom Sha'ala Yehonatan, the place that Yehonatan went up, Hayu Mefuzarin, they scattered. Ke'esrim ish b'chatzi yamana, like 20 men, and it's crazy how they're doing it. Masha came el petach einayim el mederach amdu hamatzav. Okay, so they're just saying that they were in the corner. So it's just saying that they all were scattering, and I don't know, they were it was just taken out. So what happens? That's so that was okay. Vatia Maka. So this first Harishona. Vatia Maka Harishona Shihika Nosiv Yehonatan Nose Kelev. So this first smiting that Yehonatan and his weapon bearers did was Ke'eshem Ish. It was about 20 men. Bikibachat Siman at Semed Sadeh, like about in a half furrow, which a yoke of oxen plow in the field. So there they just killed 20 guys. Done. Okay, that's what they're saying.
Like a shockwave thing.
No, it's just the killing.
Oh,
Yeah,
so that their
I
first attack.
The first attack would be 20 guys. Okay, so then what? Vatihi charad. So let's just go a little further to get the story. Vatihi charad machane besadev v'chol ha'am. So there was a fear, not a great fear. There was a trembling in the camp and in the field and all the nation. Now that's your shockwave, by the way. Yeah, a matzav mashchit, and so you have the garrison and the raiders. Chardu gamhema. They also were afraid. Why you would think that the garrison and the people and the raiders wouldn't be trembling? That's what they paid for. The tirgas hours, the ground quaked. Vati the cheradat elokim, and became a trembling inspired by Hashem. Okay? So that happens next. Vayiru atzofim l'Shaul. So now Shaul's what do you call it? Lookouts saw the Givat. Binyamin, so okay, you have to put all that together. The lookouts of Shaul and Givot, Binyamin saw. V'nei Amon namog. So and behold, the crowd was melted. He says wandering. Interesting. Okay. V'elech v'halom, and they were going back and forth. They were coming closer. He says. So, how does he get to? Let me just see one thing. No, it doesn't explain it. Okay. Yeah. Interesting. It's so interesting. I don't know where they get that from. Well, not but not. So, oh, that's why. Rashi. Okay, they're just following Rashi every time. Okay. Yeah. So they see what's going on, and then so let's just catch up with this. So it says. The Malbim says, "Vatihi al yedei Cain." So via the action in the killing of 20 guys, so there was a trembling in the camp, on the field, and all the nation. And then after that, you had the garrison and the raiders. They also were trembling. Kim haya bal umad makom, when they would come to the place of the garrison, lo haya charedim. They were not yet fearing kiayu roem kishnayim hema, because they saw that they were two. Aval bavo be'emsa ben hamatzav ben hamachaneh. But when they came, so if they would have come into the midst of the camp, so then they wouldn't have been afraid, because they would have saw there's two people there. Aval bavo be'emsa ben hamatzav ben hamachaneh. But since they came in the middle, between the garrison, between the camp, v'sham hika, and there they caused damage. What we call guerrilla warfare today, by the way. Right? You don't know how many there are. So chazva machaneh shekavar nafal hamatzav v'yamashchit. So the camp thought that the garrison and the raiders had already been taken down. After they had left the border, they crossed the border, Vahala, Cain, and because of that, that's why the camp was trembling. And since the camp was trembling, so also the garrison was trembling. Until the ground started to tremble. In truth, it was all because of Hashem. It wasn't just a natural trembling. What it's saying is that Hashem caused this great trembling and fear to come upon them. So the people saw, the Israelites saw that the nation was going back and forth, going nuts. And it says, all the time that the camp, all the time that it stood by its flag, and in order, it was all held together by one group. They're all under their flags, their banners, and that's what was called a camp or an army or a nation or anything like that. Aval, but once there is commotion amongst them, so then everybody's melting and afraid. So Az Nikram B'Shem Hamon. That's when they're called a crowd. Okay. Al Hamonam V'Shaonam Shem Hamon More Al Kibbutz Bilti Mesudra Kechoke Sidri Amacham. Because when they're called Hamon, it tells you that they're gathering together without any ranks. They're just one big crowd. There's no leader. So then they saw that they had lost their mojo, for lack of better terms. They no longer were set up like an army. Okay? Because we're going back and forth virtually more. Some people going to distance themselves further, and some of them were coming to approach further because they didn't know what to do. Because in this mixture, they're all confused. Some were fleeing the other way. So because of that, the people seeing, remember, they're going back and forth. Some people are coming close, some people are going away. So they don't know. The Jews seeing this don't know if they're getting ready for battle or if they're running away. That's you. Okay. So that's the fun of us when you see this. Now, Yehonatan, now the people, so yeah.
So the rest of the Jews can see what's going on. They see Yehonatan.
Well, they don't see Yehonatan. They don't know anything about Yehonatan. What they see is a camp all in disarray, and they don't know what's going on. And if it's set up as an armed force, we have no problem understanding what's going on. They're either waiting or whatever. But when everybody's scattering and we don't know what's going on, so now we don't know, are they running away or are they running to us? Are they getting ready for war or are they going to run? What happened? Was there a bee in the place? We don't know. So the people are all afraid because they don't know how many people are attacking. Right? They didn't see two guys. Look, unlike Rambo, where everybody sees him and they can't get him, these guys position themselves. Yonatan is arms bearer, positioned themselves where they couldn't be seen by everybody. So here they're taking on 20 guys. Fine.
The remaining army, was fearful.
They don't know.
It's like a monster coming out of the dark that they can't see.
Right.
All of a sudden, what happened?
Right. So now they don't know how many people are surrounding us. Are they now? They came out of the cave. Okay, maybe there's more. We don't know what happened. Like I said, that's the art of guerrilla warfare. Guerrilla warfare. If I come in the old days, the way my teachers used to explain it, the two armies came like this, walked into each other, boom, and clashed. And whoever won, and whoever lost. But
it was open plain.
Open war, you came together. So, but here you don't have open warfare. If I have a few people, what I do is I make a lot of noise from all different places. In the dark, you don't know who's coming at you.
Not with
Gideon with 300 people. He took on the whole army because he was smashing things. Nobody knew what he was doing. Now, that's 300 people. Here you have 2. Okay? And so, but they don't know it's 2. All they know is that we have trembling, and now the world is shaking. My God, that's how much they were shaking. God really put the fear of the unknown into their hearts. And it, by the way, it also shows you how powerful God is. And I was when we are, the best thing is when you are in a dark room, okay, and your eyes have not yet adjusted. Okay, you walk in and you're very
Disoriented.
not only disoriented, but you walk slowly. You're very careful, cautious. You're very cautious where you're walking, as compared to when your eyes are enabled to see already. It's not totally dark; you still have a little light, but now you can walk around. And I always just say to my wife, "There's so much light in this room, I could read here when it's dark." Okay, because there was light from the street and everything else, but obviously I wouldn't be able to read. It was an exaggeration. But I had no problem finding my way around if something would, if something is under the bed, you're not going to see it. But walking around is not a problem. When you go into a dark room, photography dark room, so then you only have a red light if you're black and white. Then again, your eyes have to adjust. If you're in color, it's totally dark. There's no color, there's no red light, no light you drew in the film. Now, I don't know if that's the same thing applies today, but because it's a whole different... film's different today, I'm guessing. But in that room, you had to just know where everything was. And even there, so the guy working there all day, I guess, would know how to do it. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how long they could actually work there, but it would be. But that's what I'm saying. If I'm disoriented, if I can be, you said that, disoriented, cautious. I have the whole thing because I don't know everything. This could be something. By the way, when you walk into a room, this is why we have Shabbos candles. By the way. Because when the husband would come home, the wife had to put something in there. Remember we talked about this, and you trip, and you hurt yourself. You're gonna have a whole big fight. Well, why? Because when you walked in, you assumed everything was in the same order as when you left it. Okay, this is why when the husband it used to be, the husband would go out and he would go to play cards. Okay, so then he didn't want to wake his wife up when he came home, so he left the lights off. But he didn't realize the wife moved the bed. So the next thing he hears, boom! Because the husband hits the floor where he thought the bed was. Okay. You ever hear those stories? But
I never understood why do people move the furniture? Is that like that?
Why would they move the furniture? Because they were tired of the way the room looked, or they thought that you could have more space. They didn't assume the other person would not open the light. Right. So, if you're going to, this is the way it was. My mother loved to move furniture around. Because she wanted, she was really a frustrated interior decorator. Let her rest in peace. And so she would move, we would come home from school. We'd have to ask my mother, so which bed is mine? We would come in, the room was different. So which bed is mine? I don't know. Because they all had the same. I have my brother. Yeah. So they all. It was always the same. It was like you two with the. If you wear the same clothes, nobody's going to know who you are, except if I shake your hands. Then I know who you are. But otherwise, to look at you, we don't know who you are, right? So the beds were identical to you guys. Okay. It was the same bedspreads, the same. Everything was the same.
My brother and I was the same.
Right. It was the same thing. So now you have to know. Well, which bed is mine? I don't know which bed is mine. So my mom have to say this and that. But and her thing was sometimes she put the beds like this, all to see which is more room. She loved experimenting. Okay, only when we moved into the house they passed away in. At that house there wasn't so much room anymore, so she had to leave it as it was. She couldn't have her fun anymore. But yeah, you would walk in, you didn't know what you were. You had to be very careful. You put the lights on because otherwise you're going to fall all over the place. God bless you that you would do that. But you have that. That's what I'm saying. People like to know if there's more room, how they can get it, or just simply they get tired of the arrangement. Me personally, I think most men, I'm speaking for men because I'm going to be representing, but I think when we put the chair down, we leave it there. Yeah. Until the Mashiach comes, we will leave it there. We will not move it. We won't care. It looked good the first time, great, and I don't have to move it ever again. And I'm happy with it. I like it. Yeah. We don't move furniture. Yeah. It's lucky we dust the furniture. Just forget it. The dust looks good, fine, no problem. Okay.
It's a rustic look.
It's a rustic look, no problem. Yeah. Okay. The toilet, we should flush it once in a while, but I mean, otherwise, okay. Men don't do these things, you know. Men don't move. Again, you have those who do. I'm not arguing against all men, but for the most part, men will just leave it the way it is. And, you know.
It works, leave it alone.
Right, and the table, it piles up. It's the old jokes, you know. You put it down the table, and if you have a wife, that's the old, there was a
Don't
video.
move the stuff on my desk.
Right. Oh, that's another thing. A person said he's very neat. I came to the house, it was a mess. I said, did you call it neat? He said, I know everything is. You're a mess.
Exactly how deep.
Right. You want to find it? And they pull it out. It's crazy.
You can notice that here in the class, that we all just go to our
Correct.
seat.
Correct. Everybody's
We
the same.
feel
That's what I'm saying.
comfortable right the way it is.
Women are not like that. Women are just not like that. Baruch Hashem. That's why Hashem created the Ezer Connector. She's a helper woman doing right. Otherwise, she slaps us. That's it. That's why we have to get married so that our laundry gets done now. No, but think about it. The woman is what makes us do a lot of things that we wouldn't normally do.
Sure.
It may be shaving, getting haircuts, or anything like that. I mean, think about how men used to walk around, long, straggly hair, the beard. Nobody ever said, "You look like a bum. What are you doing?" You have a wife. She tells you, "You look like a bum. You get a haircut." That's all it is. Yeah. If you care about what your wife says, by the way, you have to care.
In special forces, they've studied the Old Testament.
Really? Okay.
Because there's a lot of strategy.
Right.
When you catch an enemy and they're disoriented, you put them in that position,
Okay.
and you have a force multiplier.
Right.
The two men are like 2,000.
Correct. That's the thing. If you don't know, then you don't know. Right.
If you catch them off guard, they're expecting an attack from one side, and you come in from the other side.
Right. Okay, so Yud Zayin. Vayomer Shaul. So Shaul said, Vayomer Shaul la'am asher yitol. Shaul said to the nation that was with him, Pikdu now ra'u. Inspect now and see. Mi halach me'imana. Who was gone from us? He already suspected something's happening. Vayefkedu. So they counted or they looked. V'hine ein Yonatan v'nosei. And behold, Yonatan and his weapons bearer were not with him. How does he say that? Inspect now. That's interesting. Because it's, Pekida is count. But they're saying inspect. Pekida, poke is to normally count. Right? You've called it Hashem.
Right.
Count. It could be visited. Okay, I guess.
It's like,
Could be inspect, look around, whatever. It's interesting how they.
When you tell the troops, okay, we're going to count off and identify everybody, see
Right.
who's missing. So they're inspecting. So, all right.
Bunk inspection.
Bunk inspection. Okay, fine. Okay, fine. So, what happens? Malbus of the Yomer Shaul the Chen Ratzel the Drosh of Tumim. So therefore, he wanted to ask Yom V'Tumim, Masi B'Devar. What was the reason for this? Ma Devar Zeh. What is this thing? Oh, I'm sorry. That's the second one. The Yomer Shaul Ratzel the Dat. Siba Inyan Zeh Mitzad Shiyada Mihalach Meitam. He wanted to know the reason for this from the side of if somebody went out from the camp and caused this noise there or this trembling. And he saw that the only people missing were Yonatan and his weapons. That was a distant. It wasn't normal for these two to be able to create such a hullabaloo. Okay, that's his thing. He says, "Wait, we only have two people missing, and yet the camp is going nuts." So what's going on here? So the Aslan says, "Vayomer Shaul la'Achia." Shaul said to Achia, who was the high priest, "Higisha Aaron Elokim, go approach the ark of Hashem. Ki haya Aaron Hashem b'yomahu b'bnei Yisrael, because the ark of Hashem in those days was with Bnei Israel." It's interesting. Uvenei Israel. Why is it Uvenei? That's what I got stuck on.
Oh.
Mikro. And Rashi says that the
He's translating with. He's translating
Right.
with the children.
right. So Rashi says that this mikra, the verse is missing one word. It should have said ki haya, ki haya Aaron, because the Aaron of Hashem was there that day. All it says, and literally, is that Shaul said to Achia, approach the Ark of Hashem, because the Ark of Hashem was. It does say that key.
What's
So what's
missing?
missing? Where is it? To see this. Where's Ki haya Hashem? Oh, Sham. Sham. The word Sham is missing. Because the Ark of the Hashem was there on that day and with Bnei Yisrael. Okay, fine. That's what he's saying is missing.
They brought the ark to the battlefield.
Apparently so, yeah.
So why was the Sham missing?
Why is there not a Sham?
Yeah, they don't add it in their translation.
Why isn't Sham in the text?
Yeah.
Good question. For some reason, the author didn't feel he needed to include it. So it was probably understood.
Yeah.
Okay? But Rashi's telling you the word missing, to make sense out of it, in other words.
Right.
To make sense out of it, it's not that it's missing. It's not that there was an intimidation to the text. Okay? We're not saying that when the author put this down, he forgot the word or got missed out. He said you have to put one word into it properly understand that it's just understood that it was there. Yeah, so you had a question?
Yeah. Were the Jews known to bring the ark into the battlefield when they were winning, or just in general? Because it seems like first time we did that, it worked. The second time we did that, it didn't work. And then, or maybe just what I remember learning about, like for fighting the Philistines. First time we brought it out in the field, it started doing like we started winning,
Right.
but then we started losing. We lost
Right.
the ark.
So the Malbim asked you a question.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to get that. So Vayomer Shal, so he says, therefore Ratzal, since he knew two people couldn't not have just caused this hullabaloo, this mix-up of the camp, therefore he wanted to ask the Orm Vatumim what the reason for this was, and so why was the ark amongst them? That's your question. Because from the time that Mishkan and Shiloh was not there, in other words, from the time it was destroyed, so the time Mishkan and Shiloh was destroyed, they didn't have a fixed place for the ark, so they would bring it. So they brought it on that day because they would just bring it with them, right? Which means that where is it? So in that time, it was with Bnei Israel, but Kol Makom, wherever they gathered, and therefore in the time that they went out to Gilgal to renew the kingdom, right? Because they had to recrown or rededicate the kingdom to Shaul. They all accepted him. So they brought the ark out there with them. And so now when Shaul goes out from there to Gibeah, they brought it with him again. So in other words, there's no permanent place for the ark. Think about when we, if you really want to have a picture of that, when let's say we had a yeshiva here, or the yeshiva down the street, okay? So the yeshiva down the street, where your brother is presently, I'm guessing. Okay, so when they go on a trip, they want to bring, and it's going to be over Shabbos, so they have to bring the Torah with them, so they can learn the Torah, right? So what they do is the Torah follows them, as it were. They bring to the Aaron, they'll borrow the Aaron from us or from HOC, and then they will take it with them. So they always have the Aaron with them. So the Aaron, as it were, is displaced. Now, Baruch Hashem, now the buildings are destroyed. It always has a permanent place. But here what they're saying is the Shiloh was destroyed. So they couldn't just leave it. There was no place to really leave it anymore. So now they would carry it with them. That's what the Malbim is telling us.
Okay, so there's no safe place to have it off the battlefield. The safest place was with the army.
Right, with the people.
Or with the people, right.
With the people. Not in the army. They're not sending out to battle, but it's going to be there. It's going to be wherever we settle, that's where it's going to be.
They weren't repeating the same, bringing it out.
Right, no, they weren't doing that. It's just a matter of logistics. We didn't build a house yet. So until we build a house, we have to keep bringing the stuff with us, and then one day we'll secure it. But, it's also interesting when you think about it. It made sense not to build the house because we weren't able to settle any place per se. It was always under their rule. So when we finally got our rule, what's the matter?
No, I was picking my nails.
Well, when we finally get our rule back, and only then do we make a building. And if you think about it, what we've always done throughout America is when we move into a place, we build a synagogue, right? And then we move the community around the synagogue. By the way, that's for all synagogues. It could be Reform, Conservative, Conservative, Reform, Reconstructionists, Orthodox. They all do the same thing. They all would put the shul there, and then they would build around it. And then what happens is the more they stretch out, it gets cheaper. So the other movements leave. We continue to build, and that's why housing goes so high, because we have to be in that area. We can't drive. They can drive, so no big deal. But even within their driving, it becomes their radius that they won't leave, right? In other words, if I'm not going to travel 25 miles to go to shul. I'm going to travel a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. Once it goes to 4 miles, I'm going to go to the other shul. Am I right or wrong? Think about it, what I'm saying. There's always a radius. I'm not going to travel. The only time I saw the Michigan to travel was when I was in Moncton. Because you have Prince Edward Island, who they had to get a boat to come to the mainland. Okay? But there's only like 5 or 7 families, and most of them were intermarried too, on the island. And so what they would do is come to Moncton. So that would take, literally you're crossing the water and taking a ferry and doing everything just to get to Shul for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Okay, but that was still close. We were still closer to them than, let's say, Fredericton. So they came to us instead of Fredericton. There's always going to be a radius. So if I'm going, so whatever that radius is going to be, I'm going to have that. And I think this you probably find the same thing in church, right? That there's going to be after your church is where?
It's up on off Cleveland Road.
Okay, so
but it stretches all the way to the diocese down in Fort Wayne.
Whoa! But so somebody from Fort Wayne's going to come here?
Halfway between. People in Warsaw, they can go either way. It's the same distance.
So Warsaw would be your cutoff point.
Because it's equal distance.
Right, that's all, that's it. So Warsaw would be the cutoff point for his church. Okay, for us, again, the cutoff point is wherever we are. Maybe 2 miles out, how much are you going to walk already? 3 miles. Yeah. If you're walking 3 miles, you're a tzaddik balma, forget it. And you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. You weren't religious when you bought the house. And that's what happened. And you became religious and you figured, okay, I don't want to sell. You can even go 4 miles to that, by the way. 4 miles. But you're not going to go through rain, so you're going to go only in good weather.
Middle of winter.
Right, you're not going to do that. Yeah. So that's when you got to figure out, what do I do? But again, when it comes to Reform Conservative, you could be a 10-mile radius. Again, whatever that radius is going to be, that you say it's worth living in Stoughton, going to Sharon. I would drive to Sharon on a weekday. But no, I wasn't going to go walk 10 miles to go on 8 miles, whatever it is, to go on Shabbos. I would go to Stoughton. I would go to Brockton. Whatever was closer to me. That's what it is. And even they were 4 miles away. Yeah.
So on the thing when they brought the ark, did they also bring the menorah and the basins?
Everything would come.
Altars?
Everything would come. So they would set it up wherever it was. It was a temporary dwelling. So they didn't destroy the Mishkan. They destroyed the... No, they destroyed Shiloh. The Mishkan is still going with them.
Right, they still have all
They have all the right, but they're no longer leaving in one place. That's what we're hearing. Okay. So they destroyed the place. So fine, we move on.
They've gone back to the nomadic kind of.
Right. Well, the Mishkan becomes nomadic.
Right, like it wasn't in the wilderness.
Right. So we're going to break it down. And again, wherever we gather, that's what's going to have it because it makes sense, right? It just makes sense. Okay. So that's what the Malbim is telling us. What did I do? Where did I go? That was 17, right? Yeah. So that was 18. So 19. Vayhi adiber Shaul Kohen. So it was while Shaul was speaking to the Kohen. And so now this crowd, this assemblage, this tumult that was in the camp of Philistine, and they were continually increasing, coming. Vayomer Shaul Ela Kohen, Esof Yedecha. So the Shaul said to the Kohen, withdraw your hand. What does that mean? What does it mean to withdraw your hand? So he says, okay. Find everything here. That was 19, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so 19. So he says, Amon Ratzal Lamar B'tol Kach. In the midst, he wants the Malbim explain that while this is going on, while he's asking the Orm V'Tumim, the crowd is becoming bigger and the noise there. Hamon Zeh, okay, Ad Shamu Kol Valtam, until you had heard the sound of their falling. V'nei Haita. And that's I'm only in 20, so he's not explaining that. Okay, so Masu's David says when he says withdraw your hand, it means forget it. We don't have the time to ask anymore. They're coming at us. It's too late. Okay, fine. There's an egg Shaul. I would have said ask. Figure it out.
You put God on.
We have time.
Hold him up.
Right, we have time. Let's figure out what's going on here. But again, Shaul is not the seemingly gives into public pressure too many times. But I feel them coming on me. They're pressing on me. Okay, we have to figure this out. So what happens is Ve'ek Shaul. So Shaul and gathered together with all his nation that was with him. They came to the war. Each man was carrying a sword, because there was a great confusion. Where they get the sword, you're going to ask, right?
Yes.
Okay, what do you think?
They got it from the Plishtim.
You could say that, or you could say that, what's his name, had them from before. That Shaul made them from before, right?
No.
I think we read that as a matter of fact.
So he had an underground forge.
Misama. Or he got them from the, he ripped them off from the, not ripped them off, but he, not stole them, I'm saying, I'm avoiding the word rip off. But I'm saying he could have got them from the other battles or whatever. But it's I forget. I think they said that he got them.
He scavenged them.
It could be. Each man. So what does it say? Each man, and he says, each man's sword was against his fellow. So that the way that this guy is, the Radak explains it, is because of the great confusion which reigned in the camp, the Philistines slew one another in their quest for the Hebrews would panic them, would attack them. So here you have people killing themselves. Again, if I'm in a panic situation, I'm shooting anything that moves, or I'm use my sword to kill anything that moves. So I killed my friend next to me. Okay, you moved. You should have moved.
And then the other guy kills you because you moved. Because he sees you killing somebody. Oh,
right. In a panic, everybody does what they do, and that's the whole thing. Oh yeah, he says here, withdraw your hand. See, I said here, withdraw your hand. So he brings down, the rabbis criticized Shaul for his impatience. As soon as he heard the tumult and the Philistine camp was increasing, he abandoned his plan to seek divine guidance and immediately went into battle. David, on the other hand, when he saw the Philistines gathering to attack him, immediately sought divine guidance by consulting the Orm V'Tumim. For this reason, David was anointed during Shaul's lifetime. So interesting. See, Shaul he got afraid. So that was his problem. Always was his problem. Okay. And he gets condemned for that too. That's the other thing. Here you have Shaul, who was inspired, was given God's divine inspiration, yet he was, no matter what he would do, the guy was taken down. Okay, so I'll have to stop here. I can see you looking at the watch.